So surreal to be here. Thank you for everyone for coming out tonight on a snow day. We got to kind of prepare a little bit extra today. It was a sweet little kiss from Mother Nature. Yeah, it is good to be around some students that I haven't seen in a little while. It's just it's great. Thanks, girls, for introducing me, and thanks to everyone who said it or spoke about me tonight. It's surreal. Like it, you know. When you think about the 8th graders that I normally teach, they bring a certain level of energy, and it really makes every day seem so fun, and it doesn't seem like I've worked one day in the last 31 years. It's just a great job. So thanks for everyone for coming, Mr. Speaker and distinguished guests. I want to thank you all for being here tonight. My wife Jamie and all of our kids. Well, not all of them. I think we have a quorum though. I think we didn't get enough to have everybody here, but we definitely have a quorum. So as I'm gearing up for this big election that's coming up, I thought, what would be really neat if I brought in this podium. I don't know if you noticed this podium here, but I'm going to give you a little story on this podium. So the year is 1994. I'm a graduating college student, and I see this podium at a flea market. It looks exactly like this, has the seal of Ohio on it, and it was $10. I'm like, do I use my ramen noodle money for that? And I did. And I bought it at a flea market for $10. And I thought, wouldn't it be neat to have that in my classroom where I could talk behind it or have kids do presentations with it? And it's been in my room for 31 years. And tonight, the Speaker of the Ohio House of Representatives stood behind it to talk to you tonight. So it's almost beyond anything I could really ever imagine. So thank you, Mr. Speaker, for the introduction and the encouragement and believing in this candidacy. So I know that Dublin and Hilliard are two of the best cities in the state of Ohio. And I know that the people who live in Dublin and Hilliard are thinkers. You guys thinkers? Now sometimes I say to my students, today kids, we're going to have a little brain thought and not brain rot. Because they tend to want to play on computers and phones. So are you guys ready to have some thought tonight? Yes. I want you to think, okay? Because that's my job. As a teacher, my job is to make people think. That's what I've done my career in Dublin City Schools, and that's what I want to continue doing. So we're going to stay with that theme tonight, ready to think a little bit. So don't you think that Dublin and Hilliard deserve a real representative in the State House? Don't you think that Dublin and Hilliard are two important cities that need a voice in any decision that's made? And just the way that our state is politically, if you are in the minority party, you're probably not going to be involved in a lot of the decisions that are made. And so I would say Dublin and Hilliard are too important to be left out of those discussions. So the campaign to bring a voice back to Dublin and Hilliard begins tonight. And as I think about what I'm going to do as a candidate, there's really three big issues. The first is education. It is my wheelhouse. It's what I've done professionally. It's what I believe in. My wife and I, that's our calling, right? So it is our number one issue, and this is the year of the teacher, I think. It is the number one issue if you ask people that in taxes. And I think we bring a unique perspective to any discussion dealing with education in any form, or whatever that is. Now, as a teacher, I will tell you this. I've been to so many professional development meetings over the years where here's what they tell me. They say, the most important thing for kids in your classroom, in your lessons, you make sure you give them choices. Give them choices. That makes a good classroom. So if it's good enough for the students in the classroom to have choices, it's good enough for the families of our communities to be able to choose where they want to send their children to school. So, of course, it would be hypocritical for me to say I'm not into public schools. I love public schools. It's the bread and butter of our family. I've devoted my life to public schools. However, over the course of our life, we've sent our kids to a variety of different schools. Homeschool, charter school, parochial school. We've helped get classical school going. So we love all forms of education. So as a member of the General Assembly, I hope to be an advocate and bring some unique experience as a classroom teacher, a practitioner of education to the discussions, whatever we do. And don't you think that you'd want someone who's actually been in the classroom to be part of those discussions? Don't you think that Dublin and Hilliard could benefit by having someone in the room when policy is made dealing with education and our students? And after all, they are our most precious resource, right? Our kids, they're the most important thing in our state. So I feel, I'm going to say this, might be a little risky. Are you guys ready for this? I kind of feel, even in Dublin, that we've lost a little bit over the last decade or so. Our kids, either, I don't know what the variety of reasons, either smartphones or the cultural wars or whatever that's going on, but they're not quite what they used to be. And I think it's probably because, and this is just my opinion, being someone in the classroom, I'm not a researcher, but I guess I have been involved in like a 31-year longitudinal study. And I can tell you that we've gone too far, and we worry about whether the kids are comfortable. That has been like the number one goal now, is we want to make sure the kids are comfortable. And that's great, but that's not really the main job of education. The main job of being a teacher and being in the schools, and the main job of a school, is to make people think. And so when you force kids to think, sometimes they will be uncomfortable. That's where the growth comes. But we've been really kind of swinging the pendulum too far, at least in this, my opinion, towards trying to make kids comfortable. And there's a place for that. We want them to like school. But, you know, I'm from the 1900s. Anybody else from the 1900s? I'm not sure. I don't remember ever being asked if I ever really liked school when I was going to it. You know, I did like it, but it wasn't the main thing. The main thing is math, reading, science, and I can tell you that the numbers aren't good on that nationwide. You know, our students are below baseline nationwide, the 12th graders. So we've lost a little something there. And I hope to talk more about this in the next coming year, about what we could do to change education in Ohio. Now, Dublin and Hilliard are great, but not every school system is as good as Dublin. Not every school system is like Hilliard. So we have to think about what's going on across the state. The second thing is, I don't know if you've heard about taxes, right? They're the price we pay for a civilized society. But I would say most of us in the room say they're too high. And you know, this is something that is going to be on the forefront of the General Assembly for many years, as they try to kind of figure out a better way to do it. So there's basically three types of taxes, right? Sales tax, property tax, income tax. The General Assembly has already taken care of the income tax, right? A flat rate. So what are we going to do about property taxes? I don't know. I know this. There's a significant chance that we could totally be changing that and do away with property taxes. If that happens, if the people of the state vote for that, you know, we really need to maybe pump the brakes a little bit and think about what we're going to do. Because so much of the local community, city schools, think about all the reasons you live in Dublin and Hilliard, the roads, the parks, the schools. If we don't have the traditional way of funding that, we're going to have to come up with a new, better way. And don't you think that Dublin and Hilliard should be part of that discussion? Don't you believe that this town you're in now, Dublin and Hilliard, don't you think we should have some part in that discussion on what we do and how we fund local communities? So taxes aren't going to go away, but maybe the way we do taxes will change significantly. And I think that our towns need to be involved in that. And finally, the economic side of things. Now, this is not going to be very exciting, but I'm going to tell you something. I'm going to try not to be too much of a history teacher nerd right now, but I'm glad that Speaker Huffman talked about these Ohio presidents, because you know, there was a time when Ohio was the center of everything. There was a time when Ohio was one of the most powerfully political states and the most powerful economic state in the Union, right? We helped win the Civil War, and Ohio gave more soldiers per capita than any other state. That's why we're the Columbus Blue Jackets, right? As a shout out to those soldiers who helped end slavery. So our party is the party that ended slavery, rebuilt the South. And then, of course, 3 Ohio presidents right in a row: Grant, Hayes, and Garfield. And we had, you know, the steel mills in Youngstown. We were rocking it. But something has been happening to Ohio. It doesn't get a lot of love, doesn't get a lot of attention, but it's super important, because our numbers of our population just keeps going down and down and down. When I first started teaching, we had 19 members of a U.S. House of Representatives. So in 1995, we had 19 reps. Now we have 15. And of course, you remember from 8th grade, we based that on our population. So our population keeps going down, and that has real implications on our workforce. It has real implications on our tax base. It's a real issue, and I don't know exactly how we're going to fix it. Incentives, rewards for people to stay in the state. Ever since Florida and Texas got air conditioning, and they figured out how to get water to Arizona, you know, it's changed everything. So how are we going to keep people here? And it may not seem like a big deal in Dublin and Hilliard because this place is rocking. These two cities are crushing it. But don't